The first light of day spills gently over the vast Serengeti plains, brushing the endless horizon with a soft golden glow. The air is cool, dry, and alive with the faint scent of dust carried by a whispering breeze. Somewhere far in the distance, the echoing roar of a distant lion fades into the early morning haze, a reminder that here, life and death are in constant negotiation. The land seems almost endless, rolling waves of grass bending under the weight of dew, scattered acacia trees casting long, sharp shadows across the earth. From this stillness emerges movement, a rhythmic, muffled drumming that grows louder with every passing second. It is the sound of hooves, hundreds of them beating the earth in unison, and then they appear. Out of the soft shimmer of dawn, a herd of zebras comes into focus. Their black and white stripes glisten as the sunlight catches on sleek coats, damp with morning moisture. From afar, the stripes blend together into a mesmerizing ripple, like a living river flowing through the grasslands. Up close, each stripe is distinct, telling a story as unique as a fingerprint. No two zebras carry the same pattern, nature's subtle way of branding its creations. The herd moves together with an unspoken harmony. Mothers keep their foals close, their bodies a protective barrier against unseen threats. Young foals, still clumsy in their steps, press into their mother's flanks, occasionally breaking into short bursts of playful hopping before returning to the steady rhythm of the group. Adult stallions walk with measured steps along the edges, their ears flicking constantly, scanning the plains for danger. For now, there is peace. The low, raspy calls of the zebras blend with the chirping of larks and the distant trumpeting of elephants moving somewhere beyond sight. The ground is still cool beneath their hooves, but the sun is climbing fast, and with its rise comes a shift in the air, one that the zebras seem to sense instinctively. Life on the Serengeti is built on delicate balance. The zebras are not the largest animals here, nor the fastest. They have no claws, no razor teeth, no poison, yet they have survived for millions of years through the quiet genius of their design. Their stripes are more than beauty, they are survival. When the herd runs, the blur of black and white creates visual chaos, a moving illusion that confuses predators' eyes and minds. It is a shield made not of armor, but of deception. The stallion leading this herd, an older male with a faint scar tracing the length of his muzzle, pauses for a moment on a rise in the terrain. He lifts his head high, ears pointed forward, nostrils flaring as he reads the wind. Every shift in scent, every unusual vibration in the ground could mean the difference between safety and slaughter. Beyond the comfort of the herd, the Serengeti waits, vast and unpredictable. The tall grasses, still wet with dew, can conceal both a grazing antelope and a crouching lioness. Every shadow holds the possibility of death. The zebras know this. They were born into it. And so, even in this fragile moment of morning calm, tension hums beneath the surface like a tightly wound wire. A young foal stumbles and falls in the soft grass, letting out a startled squeal. Its mother instantly halts, stepping over the foal to shield it as it regains its footing. The stallion glances back, a flick of his ear signaling reassurance before the herd resumes its slow advance toward a watering hole glistening faintly in the distance. Around them, the Serengeti wakes. A small group of Thompson's gazelles bounds gracefully across the plain, their white tails flashing like warning flags. A pair of ostriches strolls nearby, their long necks swaying in rhythm, eyes scanning the horizon. In the distance, a lone giraffe moves like a drifting shadow, feeding lazily on the leaves of a solitary acacia. The zebras, for their part, move as one organism, each member bound to the survival of the whole. This unity is their strength, yet also their vulnerability. A predator need not kill many, just one. And in this land, the difference between life and death can be decided in a single heartbeat. As the sun climbs higher, the light sharpens, and the shadows shrink. The stallion pauses again, ears swiveling toward a faint rustle in the grass to the east. The sound is small, almost swallowed by the morning chorus of birds, but it is enough to make him stand taller, every muscle tightening. He stares for a long moment before moving on. Perhaps it was only the wind, or perhaps it was something far more dangerous. The herd reaches a patch of fresh green shoots-array nourishment at this time of year. Heads lower, and the sound of grazing fills the air, the repetitive tearing of grass, punctuated by occasional soft snorts. For the zebras, each mouthful of grass is both a necessity and a risk. When their heads are down, their sightline is limited, and predators know this. The scarred stallion lifts his head again. His eyes sweep across the horizon, scanning the grasslands for any sign of movement. Nothing yet, but his instincts whisper that this morning's peace will not last forever. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of sight, hunters are waiting. And when they come, the herd will need to be ready. The sun burns brighter now, and the golden glow of dawn is giving way to the harsh white light of day. Heat waves begin to shimmer above the earth, distorting the horizon. The herd moves slowly but steadily toward the waterhole, their shadows stretching long and thin behind them. To the casual observer, it is a scene of beauty, a postcard vision of African wildlife in harmony with its environment. But to the zebras, it is survival in motion. Every step is calculated, every glance a search for threats, every breath a reminder of how fragile life is in the hunter's circle. And as the day unfolds, the balance between predator and prey will once again be tested, and the stripes that shimmer now in the sunlight may soon blur in a desperate dash for life. The morning light had ripened into a pale gold, stretching long, thin shadows across the plains. The sun hung low enough to keep the air cool, but its climb was inevitable. With each minute, the Serengeti shifted, sounds grew sharper, scents more pronounced, and the delicate boundary between calm and danger thinned. The zebra herd had loosened its formation into a half-moon spread. Foals huddled close to their mothers, swishing tails brushing away persistent flies. Stallions lingered at the edges, not quite still, each one pacing a slow, silent circuit, heads raised above the grass. To a casual eye, it might seem they grazed at leisure. To those who lived in this land, the truth was obvious: they were on guard. In the tall grasses east of the herd, something else moved. It was not the wind's ripple, nor the casual sway of grass bending under the weight of dew. It was deliberate, controlled, and patient. Two lionesses crept forward, bodies hugging the earth so tightly their bellies brushed the soil. Dust clung to their tawny fur, muting their outlines into the pale gold of the savanna. Every step was measured in inches, every pause calculated to the heartbeat of the prey before them. The lead lioness had hunted this herd before. She knew its patterns, the way the scarred stallion circled when the foals played too far from their mothers. She understood that a zebra's strength lay not only in speed, but in unity. Her yellow eyes narrowed. She was not looking for the fastest zebra. She was looking for the weakest link. The second lioness fanned out, keeping low, her path curving like a drawn bowstring. Her paws landed so softly that even the small birds hopping between the stems barely noticed her presence. She knew her role: to flank, to drive, to funnel one of the herd into a gap where the lead could strike. High above, a lilac-breasted roller burst from an acacia, its wings flashing turquoise and violet. Its alarm call was sharp, but the herd didn't startle. Zebras had learned to read the language of the plains. Some calls meant nothing more than the rise of a snake from its burrow, or the dart of a mongoose in pursuit of an insect. But other calls meant hunters. The scarred stallion shifted position, stepping onto a subtle rise in the ground. From here, his line of sight stretched beyond the half-hidden horizon of grass. His ears rotated independently, catching the faintest whispers, the friction of a paw against dry soil, the muffled thump of muscle coiling beneath fur. He could not see them yet, but he could feel the change. A mare in the outer line stopped chewing and froze, her eyes glassy with focus. The foal beside her mimicked her stillness, though it did not understand why. A single oxpecker on her back fell silent, head tilted, sensing the tremor in the air. Between predator and prey, the Serengeti's smaller citizens continued their routines and smarched in perfect lines. A family of warthogs rooted in the dirt. For bulbs, a lone jackal trotted by in the distance, giving the zebra herd a wide berth. All seemed normal. But here, normal was a mask worn over something inevitable. The lionesses inched closer. They moved in unison, like shadows synchronized by the pull of hunger. The lead cat stopped behind a mound of earth hardened by termites, using it as cover. Her muscles tightened, and her tail flicked once, twice, a silent code passed to her partner. The second lioness adjusted her angle, bringing the herd into a triangle of death. But the stallion had noticed something. The way a patch of grass near the termite mound swayed against the wind's direction. His nostrils flared, drawing in the air. The scent was faint, but it was enough. He exhaled sharply, a sound low in his throat but urgent. It passed through the herd like a current in water. One head lifted, then another, then all. The zebras did not bolt. Flight was a last resort. Panic too soon could scatter them, make them easier targets. Instead, they tightened formation. Foals were pressed toward the center, mares positioned themselves at the flanks, and the stallions angled their bodies to face the source of threat. It was a dance as old as the plains, a shifting geometry designed to frustrate the predator's aim. The lionesses read the change instantly. The lead one lowered herself even further, her chin almost touching the ground. She could wait. Patience was the edge between feast and famine. She had spent hours in this position before, and she would spend hours again, if it meant her claws closed around her throat. Minutes passed. The sun rose another finger's width, and the heat began to build. Waves shimmered faintly above the earth. The zebra herd eased its tension just slightly, enough to resume grazing, though the stallion's head never lowered. He was still, but his eyes were weapons searching, dissecting, anticipating. A sudden commotion broke the fragile calm. A flock of quellias exploded from the grass, their tiny bodies a blur of brown and crimson. The air filled with the rush of wings. One foal flinched, sidestepping into open space. It was no more than a few meters from safety, but in the predator's eye, that was enough. The lead lioness felt it like a spark to tinder. This was the seam she had been waiting for. Her muscles coiled, every fiber tuned to the instant she would release. The second lioness mirrored her, ready to drive the foal away from the protection of the herd. The stallion saw a tooth, a breach in their formation, the hungry gleam beyond the grass. He stomped once, hard, the sound thudding through the ground. The mares responded instantly, moving to close the gap. The foal's mother swung her body between it and the threat, teeth bared, ears pinned back. From the predator's view, the opportunity was closing. From the prey's view, the danger was not yet past. The Serengeti held its breath. The gap in the herd is no wider than the length of a zebra's body, but on the Serengeti, such openings are invitations written in blood. The two lionesses, hidden for what felt like an eternity, read it instantly. A flicker of space, a misaligned step, a foal momentarily exposed. The lead lioness flattens her ears. The muscles in her shoulders swell, trembling with restrained power. Every nerve is a taut wire, every breath a calculation. She will not leap too soon. The distance is still too great. The kill must happen in the space between surprise and escape. Her partner curves wide through the grass, keeping low, paws sliding silently over the earth. The scent of zebra is strong now, warm, sweet, laced with the faint tang of adrenaline. She feels the vibration of the herd's hooves through the soil, each beat a countdown. The scarred stallion has not moved from his post, but his eyes tracked them, not as predators in full view, but as distortions in the landscape. A ripple where there should be stillness, a dark seam in the weave of gold. His tail flicks once, a subtle signal to the mares on the flanks. Tighten, but tightening takes time, and time is exactly what the lionesses are about to steal. The first move, it happens in a heartbeat. The lead lioness lunges from behind the termite mound, her body exploding into motion. Dust bursts from under her paws, and the grass parts like a wave under her weight. The second lioness mirrors her on the opposite flank, driving inwards, aiming to shear the foal from the herd. The air fractures with sound. The stallion's alarm call, sharp and metallic, slicing through the plains. Every zebra head jerks up. Every muscle floods with urgency. The herd surges forward in a single, coordinated burst, a living wave of stripes and pounding hooves. For the foal at the center of the trap, the world becomes chaos. The thunder of hooves, the hiss of grass, the predatory growl closing in from both sides. Its legs pump furiously, but its inexperience shows. It stumbles on a hidden mound, losing precious momentum. The chase, the lead lioness, zeroes in, her vision narrowing until the world holds nothing but the foal's flashing legs. She accelerates, claws digging into the earth for grip. Every stride closes the gap, the distance collapsing from meters to body lengths. The foal's mother veers sharply, ramming her shoulder against her offspring's flank, nudging it back toward the safety of the herd. But the second lioness is already there, her path cutting off the route, forcing the foal to swerve into open space. The stallion charges, not away, but toward the threat. His hooves strike the ground like war drums, his teeth bared, eyes locked on the flanking lioness. The predator hesitates for a fraction of a second, just enough for the foal to slip past her shoulder. Dust billows, stripes blur. The herd's formation breaks and reforms like a living organism, its edges fluid, its heart impenetrable. The lionesses weave through the chaos, trying to isolate the foal again. But each time a zebra body interposes, the path closes. Predator and prey collide. The lead lioness makes her gamble. She lunges, front legs outstretched, claws slicing the air toward the foal's haunch. But at the same instant, the foal kicks out with both hind legs. A desperate, instinctive blow. The kick connects. Bone meets muscle with a crack that sends a jolt up the lioness's forelimbs. She snarls in pain, tumbling sideways into the dust. Her partner skids to avoid colliding, eyes flashing with frustration. The zebras seize the moment. The stallion drives forward, hooves lashing the ground between predator and prey. Mares close ranks, pressing the foal deeper into the moving wall of bodies. The herd's speed builds until the grass itself seems to bend in submission to their passing. Retreat. The lionesses slow, then stop. Their chests heave, tongues lolling from open jaws. The dust settles around them, carrying away the scent of lost opportunity. They watch the retreating wave of stripes, not with defeat, but with calculation. In the Serengeti, patience is a hunter's most faithful ally. There will be other mornings, other gaps, other falls. The stallion doesn't slow until the herd has put several hundred meters between themselves and the ambush site. Only then does he allow the pace to ease, the pounding rhythm of hooves shifting back into the quieter crunch of grazing. His ears remain forward, though, scanning. The danger is gone for now, but it will return. Balance restored, the foal, sides heaving, stays pressed against its mother's flank. Its legs tremble, but the fire in its eyes is new, a first lesson in the ways of the plains. The herd exhales in its own way, tails swishing, heads lowering to feed again. Life resumes, as it always must, until the next challenge rises from the grass. And somewhere, hidden by distance and heat shimmer, the lionesses vanish back into the savannah, their paw prints already fading under the restless wind. The air still trembles from the stampede. Every hoofbeat is a hammer striking the earth, sending vibrations racing through the soil. The herd moves as a single, surging body, hundreds of legs churning, stripes flashing in the sunlight like a broken strobe. The dust cloud they raise swells behind them, swallowing the lionesses and the ambush site in a golden haze. The stallion runs at the forefront, neck arched, nostrils flaring with each breath. His ears sweep the air, listening not just for the predators they've escaped, but for the subtle ripple of new threats ahead. In the Serengeti, safety is never behind you, it's only what lies in front, unclaimed. The rhythm of survival, the herd's gallop, is not chaotic, it's a rhythm born of instinct. Each zebra matching the strides of its neighbor, hooves falling in patterns that avoid collision while keeping the wall of bodies tight. The foals are enveloped in the center, shielded by a ring of mares whose muscles flex like coiled cables with every leap. From above, the herd is a single organism, a river of black and white cutting across the sunlit gold of the plain. But within that river, individuals fight their own battles. The stallion pacing himself to maintain leadership, a young mare stretching every stride to keep up, a foal stumbling and being nudged upright by the flank of its mother. The wind tears at their manes, roars in their ears, and dries the foam already forming at the corners of their mouths. The dust they kick up swirls back into their eyes, but they don't falter. In flight, there is no discomfort, only distance. The land rolls out before them. The Serengeti opens in waves of terrain. Patches of tall grass give way to flat, sun-hardened earth that reverberates with each impact. Scattered acacias cast narrow strips of shade, but the herd doesn't slow to take them. Birds scatter at their passing, crowned cranes lifting into the air with startled cries, guinea fowl darting into the underbrush. Far ahead, the ground dips toward a shallow basin where water once lay before the dry season claimed it. The edges are still soft, holding the prints of elephants that passed weeks before. The stallion steers the herd round the rim, keeping to firm ground, his movements small but decisive, a shepherd of momentum. Predators in the wake. Behind them, the lioness is slow to a walk, chests heaving, their flanks rising and falling in the heavy rhythm of spent energy. One licks the dust from her nose, eyes never leaving the dust cloud in the distance. They do not pursue. The burst has ended. The herd's speed too great to match without burning more energy than hunger allows. Instead, they stop at the edge of the trampled grass, reading the story left in hoofprints and scent trails. The foal's path is there, faint but distinct. It is a memory to be kept for another day. The lead lioness flicks her tail, turning toward the shade of a nearby acacia. The second follows, limping slightly where the foal's kick struck her. The hunters failed, but the day is not over. There will be other herds, other moments. Patience is their greatest asset. Pushing the herd, the stallion glances over his shoulder as he runs. The horizon behind them is empty now, save for the swirling dust slowly settling back into the grass. Still, he does not slow. The mares feel his urgency and push the pace, their sides heaving, the muscles in their legs working like pistons. Every so often, a zebra near the edge of the formation peels inward to relieve another, the outer positions most vulnerable to attack. It is a silent, constant rotation, an unspoken agreement that has kept their kind alive for generations. The cost of speed minutes stretch into a quarter hour, and the herd begins to show the cost of their sprint. Foam drips from muzzles, darkened with saliva and dust. Chests rise and fall like bellows. The younger zebras begin to stumble more often, and the mares lean into them to keep their balance without breaking stride. But even in fatigue, they do not scatter. The tight formation holds in the wild. A tired zebra alone is a dead zebra. The stallion begins to arc, the herd's path toward a stand of thorn bushes in the distance. Not a resting place, but a windbreak and a momentary barrier against an attack from the rear. Easing the pace only when the stallion is certain in a way born from years of reading the land's subtle cues, does he allow the pace to drop. The gallop eases into a canter, then into a brisk trot. The sound of pounding hooves fades, replaced by the rustle of grass and the rasp of breath. Foals stumble to a walk, heads hanging low. Mares touch their noses to their young, checking for injury. One foal has a small cut along its leg, where a thorn caught it during the run, but it's superficial. The mother licks it clean without breaking stride. A new horizon, the thornbush stand rises before them, its twisted branches casting a lace of shadow on the ground. Here, the herd pauses just long enough to drink from shallow depressions in the earth, where rainwater still lingers from the last storm. The water is warm and tastes of mud, but it is life. In the distance, wildebeest graze in scattered groups, their dark bodies bobbing like ships on a rolling sea of grass. Above them, vultures ride thermals, circling patiently, reminders that in the Serengeti, every life feeds another. The stallion lowers his head to drink, ears still swiveling. Around him, the herd's breathing slows. The foals press close to their mothers, seeking comfort after the chaos. And though they have escaped for now, each zebra knows the truth. The hunters will return. They always do. The plain holds many dangers. This morning was only one test among countless others. The herd moves on, hooves crunching over dry soil, stripes flickering in the sun. Somewhere, far behind them, the lionesses melt into the grass, and the wind erases the evidence of their failed strike. But the memory will remain in the minds of the predators who planned the trap, and in the heartbeat of every zebra that ran to escape it. The sun climbs higher, burning away the cool softness of morning. Shadows shrink, heat presses down from above, and the Serengeti begins to shimmer. The zebra herd has slowed to a steady, deliberate pace, a march that will stretch for hours, perhaps days, until they reach the next grazing ground. The stallion leads his head high, ears forward. He does not set the pace to his own strength, but to the youngest and weakest in the herd. Their survival is the survival of the group. A leader who runs his herd into exhaustion is a leader who delivers them to predators on a platter. Behind him, mares flank their foals like living shields. Older males take the edges, scanning the horizon with eyes that miss nothing. The flash of movement in distant grass, the flicker of a shadow above, the ripple in a herd of gazelles that might signal danger. The weight of distance, the Serengeti stretches ahead like a golden ocean, the land rolling in shallow waves of grass and dry earth. Here and there, scattered acacia trees stand like watchtowers, their branches reaching skyward in gnarled silhouettes. The wind carries the smell of dust, of old rain long evaporated, and of animals. Wildebeest, antelope, buffalo, all moving, all searching, all surviving. The zebra's hooves crunch over ground hardened by sun, then sink slightly into patches of softer soil where streams once ran. Some of these depressions still hold pockets of water, but they are small and fouled by mud. The herd does not linger. Stopping here would invite danger. The scent of water is a beacon not only to prey, but to hunters. The stalkers return, hours pass, and the rhythm of the march becomes hypnotic. Step, breath, swish of tail, repeat. But the stallion never lets his mind drift. He catches sight of a faint movement far behind. Two tawny shapes slipping through the grass. Too far to be a threat now, but close enough to remind him that they are never alone. It is the same pair of lionesses from the morning. They follow at a distance, conserving energy, letting the heat of the day slow their prey. They do not expect to strike now. The sun is too high, the ground to open, but they are patient, and patience is its own kind of power. Crossing the dry flats by midday, the herd reaches a vast open flat, a stretch of baked earth where the grass is sparse and low. The heat here is oppressive. The air shimmers, and each breath feels heavier. There is no cover, no shade, nothing but the sky and the ground. The zebras tighten formation instinctively. In open ground, they are visible from every angle, and danger can come from anywhere. A cheetah in a sudden burst of speed, a hyena pack cresting the horizon, or the distant slow-rolling approach of lions. The stallion quickens the pace just slightly. It is not yet a run, but enough to cut the time they spend exposed. The herd follows without question, hooves striking the cracked surface in a steady drumbeat. The price of the journey, the youngest foals struggle here. Their small bodies overheat faster, their shorter legs work harder to keep pace. Mothers position themselves to shield them from the worst of the sun, moving so that their shadows fall over their offspring whenever possible. It is a small mercy, but in the wild, even small mercies can be the difference between life and death. Every so often, the herd pauses just long enough for the foals to catch their breath. These breaks are short, a minute, maybe less, before the stallion urges them forward again. They cannot afford to linger. The scent of rain. Late in the afternoon, the wind shifts again. This time it carries a new scent, faint, but unmistakable. Rain, somewhere ahead. Far beyond the horizon, clouds are building, and with them, the promise of fresh water and green grazing. The herd's pace quickens. Even the tired foals seem to sense the change. Heads lift higher, ears perk forward, and the steady march becomes a purposeful advance. But the rain is not yet here, and the distance is still great. Between them and that promise lies more open ground, more hazards, and the persistent shadow of the lionesses, who match their pace at the edges of sight. Nightfalls approach. As the sun dips toward the west, the light softens into amber. The heat begins to fade, replaced by a slow, creeping coolness. Shadows stretch long again, and with them comes a shift in the mood of the land. The predators stir. Hyenas begin to call, eerie, laughing cries that echo across the plains. Far in the distance, the faint roar of a male lion carries on the wind. Birds settle into the trees, their calls sharper now, more urgent. The stallion leads the herd toward a low rise where they can rest with a vantage point. Here, they can see danger coming from at least 3 directions. The fourth side, a shallow slope, is guarded by a thicket of thornbush, enough to discourage a direct approach. The rest that isn't rest as the herd stops. They do not collapse into sleep. Zebras never truly sleep in the open. They rest in shifts. A few lower their heads to graze on what grass they can find. Others stand with eyes half-lidded, ears twitching, always listening. Foals curled close to their mother's legs, occasionally twitching in dreams that might recall the morning's chase. The stallion remains upright, scanning the horizon as the last of the sun sinks behind it. In the distance, the lionesses stop as well. They settle into the grass, eyes glowing faintly in the fading light. They will not strike now, not while the zebras are alert and bunched together, but they will wait, and when the time is right, they will try again. The Serengeti is not kind, but it is fair in its own brutal way. Every day is a test, every mile a gauntlet, every mouthful of grass earned by vigilance and endurance. The long march will continue tomorrow, and the day after, and for as many days as it takes to reach safety, if such a thing exists at all. The scent of rain has been growing stronger for hours, carried on a shifting wind that smells of wet stone, distant thunder, and the cool breath of storms yet to arrive. Ahead, the land drops into a shallow basin, and at its heart lies the river, a broad, restless band of brown water that cuts across the Serengeti like an ancient scar. It is not calm. The river's surface boils in places, rippling with hidden currents. Clumps of reeds lean and sway. The water is opaque, thick with silt, churned by the rainy season upstream. It hides everything: the rocks, the sudden drop-offs, the dangerous shelves of mud, and the jaws. The herd halts on a low rise above the near bank. The scarred stallion stands at the front, his striped flanks shining with sweat and dust. He stares down at the water for a long time, reading it as if it were a story written just for him. He has seen this river before. He knows it will take some, no matter what they do. Across the far bank, the grass is deep and green, rippling in the breeze. Shade pools beneath the wide skirts of acacia trees. The promise of fresh grazing and rest lies only a few hundred meters away. But between here and there is a corridor where death waits, a place the herd knows too well as the river of teeth. The zebras begin to form a line, not quite single file, not quite side by side. Foals are pressed toward the center of the group, flanked by mares whose bodies will block them from a sudden lunge. Older stallions fan out to the edges, eyes fixed on the water. The descent to the river is a narrow, crumbling chute worn into the bank by generations of migrations. It is steep and treacherous, forcing the herd into a bottleneck that makes every step dangerous. Downstream, wildebeest gather in their own restless knot. Some wade in up to their knees, testing the current, then retreat with tossing heads. Others plunge recklessly forward. The vultures have already taken their places on a dead tree nearby, waiting for the inevitable. Marabou storks stalk the shallows, their thin legs and still postures giving them the air of undertakers. In the river itself, the surface breaks once, then twice, dark ridges gliding just under the skin of the water. To the untrained eye they might be drifting logs, but the zebras know better. Those logs have eyes like coins and tails that scold the water with terrifying silence. Crocodiles, dozens of them. The first to commit, the stallion paces along the rim, scanning for the safest point to enter. He tests the bank's firmness with his hooves, watches how the reeds bend in the current, and listens for the deep, soft glop of bubbles breaking, a sound that can mean danger waiting beneath. Twice he approaches the slope, and twice he backs away, rejecting it. Too deep, too fast, wrong angle. Finally, he makes his choice. The water here is broad but less turbulent, with a rocky rise on the far bank that may help them climb out. He steps to the edge, ears forward. One mare follows, then another. Their hooves send small cascades of dust and pebbles rolling into the river. The foals hesitate, crowding close to their mothers. The air is thick with tension. Every zebra feels it, the sense that once the first enters, the rest must follow or risk being cut off from the group entirely. Into the water the first mare descends the chute, in short, sliding steps. She hits the water with a splash that's instantly swallowed by the river's noise. The cold shocks her muscles, but she pushes forward, head high, nostrils flaring. A foal follows, legs flailing at the sudden change in footing. One by one they enter, some wading, some leaping, all committing to the current. The river takes them immediately, pulling at their legs, trying to spin them sideways. They angle toward the far bank, but the water insists on dragging them downstream. The stallion is last from the chute. He plunges in with the force of a body built for strength, not speed. Water surges up his chest and neck, icy and heavy. He drives forward, powerful kicks propelling him in a diagonal that will counter the current. The first strike, it happens without warning. 10 lengths offshore, the water bulges. A shape rises beneath a mare, lifting her half out of the water before slamming sideways. She screams, the sound sharp and alien against the river's roar, and vanishes in a churn of foam. The herd veers instinctively away from the spot, hooves striking at nothing but water. The chute on the bank clogs with zebras unsure whether to enter or turn back, but hesitation is death. Those behind shove forward, forcing them into the river whether ready or not. The struggle in the current, the foal that survived the lion attack earlier is caught in the middle. Its legs churn, sending up white spray, but the current steals its momentum. Its mother presses in on its flank, pushing, guiding, keeping her own body between it and the open water. They hit a submerged rock. Both roll, swallowed by mud-brown water. They surface coughing, spinning in the grip of a swirling eddy. The mare digs deep, muscles screaming, and rams her shoulder against her foal, breaking it free of the spiral. They angle toward the far bank, but the fight is far from over. The death roll a yearling ahead of them vanishes in an explosion of water. When it surfaces, a crocodile has its hind leg in a vice of teeth. Another crocodile surges in from the side, jaws clamping down on its neck. The water becomes a storm of thrashing bodies, then a whirl as the predators spin in the infamous death roll. When the churning subsides, the river swallows the scene, leaving only bubbles and drifting debris. The climb the far bank is steep, a wall of slick mud and loose earth. Those who reach it scramble for purchase, hooves scraping and kicking. Some make it on the first try. Others slide back into the water, panic flashing in their eyes. Each successful climber presses the mud into rough steps, making it marginally easier for those behind. The foal and its mother reach the slope together. She goes first, then braces herself to block the foal from sliding back. Together they crest the bank and collapse into the thin shade beyond. The stallion is still in the river, driving himself forward. Twice, a shadow passes beneath him, close enough to feel in the drag of the water against his legs, but he does not break stride. He surges up the slope, hooves churning, and gains the top with a final bound, counting the cost. On the far side, the herd regroups, mud streaks their flanks, foam stains their muzzles, and their sides heave with exhaustion. The stallion turns in place, counting. One mare is gone. The yearling is gone. Several bear fresh wounds, deep tooth marks, ugly bruises. They do not linger. Even here, crocodiles sometimes launch themselves halfway up the bank in a final desperate lunge. The herd moves a short distance inland before stopping to breathe and drink from a calmer backwater pool. The rain arrives. The first drops fall as they drink, cooling their hides and darkening the dust into stripes of wet. It is not the full storm yet, just the storm's hand laid gently over the land. Lightning flickers on the horizon. The smell of wet grass sharpens. The foal that almost drowned stands close to its mother, trembling, eyes half closed. The mother rests her muzzle along its back, feeling its heartbeat slow. The stallion stands apart on a small rise, watching the river they've just crossed. He knows the lionesses will not be far behind. Predators learn the patterns of migrations, just as prey do. But for now, the zebras are on the right side of the water. They are wet, alive, and moving forward. In the Serengeti, that is enough. The rain comes heavier after dusk, not the gentle curtain that kissed the herd's flanks at the riverbank, but a driven, slanting sheet that rattles leaves and drapes the Serengeti in a shimmering veil. Every blade of grass glistens. Mud clings to hooves. The air smells of wet earth and bruised plants. The zebras have moved inland from the river, climbing onto a low ridge where the ground is firmer. Here, they can see in 3 directions. The fourth is backed by a dense thorn thicket, a living wall of spikes that will tear the hide of anything foolish enough to charge through. It is as close to a defensible camp as the plains allow. The foals huddle near their mothers, sides pressed together for warmth. Some have already begun to doze on their feet, eyelids sagging in the dim, but the adults remain alert. No zebra truly sleeps in the open. They rest in turns, eyes half closed, ears twitching at every drop, every rustle. Predators in the rain. The lionesses have not been seen since the crossing, but their absence is a shadow more dangerous than their presence. Rain erases scent quickly, masking the trail of prey, but it also muffles the sound of paws. Somewhere out in the darkness, the lionesses are moving. They are drenched, their fur plastered flat against their muscles, their eyes catching every flicker of lightning. For them, the night is an ally. The rain hides their approach. The darkness covers their outlines. They know the herd is tired. They know fatigue makes prey slower to react. The chorus of the night, the Serengeti at night, is never silent. Tonight it hums and crackles with life. Hyenas call first, a rising, whooping cry that echoes through the rain, then breaks into that unsettling, almost laughing chatter. Farther off, a single lion's roar answers, deep and resonant, rolling across the plains like distant thunder. From the thicket behind the herd, frogs begin their steady percussion, and insects add their high, electric whine. Above, the sky flickers with lightning, momentarily turning every drop of rain into a bright bead before plunging the land back into darkness. Shifting formation, the stallion moves constantly, pacing the perimeter of the herd. He stops at each group of mares and foals, sniffing, checking, reassuring. When lightning flashes, his eyes catch the light like molten gold. His hooves are silent on the wet earth, but the firmness of his gait sends a message to the others. We are not broken. The herd stands in a loose arc, facing outward, each zebra keeping its body angled to shield the foals. Those resting do so in brief snatches, a few minutes at most, before switching with another sentry. The rain makes their coats slick, but it also keeps the scent of sweat and fear from carrying too far. The first probe near midnight. The first test comes. A shape detaches itself from the darkness at the edge of vision. It is low, smooth, and deliberate. Lightning flares, and for an instant the silhouette of a lioness is carved into the night. Tail low, head forward, eyes fixed on the herd. The stallion snorts sharply. Every zebra in earshot stiffens, ears pricking. The lioness halts, assessing. She is alone, a scout testing the herd's awareness. When a mare stamps the ground and bares her teeth, the lioness melts back into the dark, her retreat masked by rain. But her presence confirms what the herd already knows. They are being watched. Hyenas arrive not long after. A new sound rises from the north, the cackling chorus of spotted hyenas. They move differently from lions, less stealth, more swagger. Their shapes are uneven in the lightning, their gait a shambling lope that covers surprising ground. They fan out in a loose semicircle, eyes glinting. Their calls overlap in a chaos of sound, part taunt, part coordination. Hyenas are opportunists. They will test the edges of a herd, nip at the stragglers, wait for panic to break formation. The stallion lowers his head and trots toward them, not to attack, but to show the line is guarded. Two other males flank him. The hyenas pause, gauging the numbers, then drift sideways, their interest undimmed but their approach stalled. Lightning strike the rain lessens for a moment, and in that pause the air feels charged, tight. A flash of lightning splits the sky, searing white across the plains. In its wake comes the deep, ripping crack of thunder that makes the foals flinch. The herd shuffles but does not break. In that momentary illumination, the stallion spots movement farther off. Not one lioness, but three, spread wide. They are patient, tracking, keeping just beyond the range where a charge from the herd would be effective. They are waiting for fatigue to do their work for them, holding the line. Hours pass. The rain returns in waves, sometimes a thin mist, sometimes a driving sheet. The zebras shift positions to rest muscles, but the formation never dissolves. The foals are kept in the densest cluster, where the bodies of adults form a living wall. The stallion's pacing slows as the sky begins to pale at the edges. The predators are still there. He can feel them, but dawn will strip away some of their advantage. And every hour the herd holds together is an hour closer to the next grazing ground. The predators fade as the light strengthens. The hyenas are first to withdraw, trotting away with glances over their shoulders. Hunger has not been satisfied, but the chance has passed for now. The lionesses linger longer, silhouettes still and low in the tall grass, until the daylight finally burns them into movement. They slip away, their tawny coats dissolving into the gold of the plains. The herd exhales. Not all at once, not in relief, but in the subtle loosening of muscles, the lowering of heads to graze. The foals begin to nibble at the wet grass, taking advantage of the brief peace. A new day. The storm clouds drift east, leaving the sky washed clean and bright. The land glitters under 1,000 tiny drops. The stallion shakes himself, sending arcs of water into the air, and steps to the front of the herd. The march will resume. It must. Distance is their greatest shield, and the predators will be hungrier tonight. As they begin to move, the wet ground records every step. Hoofprints press deep into the soft soil, marking the trail for those who will follow, both friend and foe. The night has been survived. The river is behind them, but the journey is far from over. Morning breaks over the Serengeti in a blaze of gold. The storm has passed, leaving the air sharp and clean, the sky a vast sheet of blue. But with the clearing comes a harsher truth. The green banks of the river are behind them now, and ahead lies a stretch of land that offers neither shade nor water for many kilometers. The herd begins to move before the sun is fully above the horizon. The stallion leads, his pace measured but unrelenting. The foals, still heavy-limbed from the night's ordeal, stumble at first but find their rhythm as the day warms. Behind them, the river is a ribbon of shadow in the distance, already fading under the heat haze. Somewhere beyond its banks, the lionesses move as well, keeping to cover. They are too far to threaten now, but the herd knows they will circle forward given the chance. Into the open the grass grows shorter here, pale and dry, rasping against the zebra's legs. The ground is hard, baked into cracked plates by weeks without rain. Each step sends up tiny puffs of dust that cling to sweat-darkened coats. The wind is steady but hot, carrying the scent of dust and far-off herds. The openness is both blessing and curse. From here, the herd can see for miles, and be seen from miles away. There are no trees to conceal an ambush, but there is also nowhere to hide if danger comes. The stallion keeps them in a tight block, the foals still in the center. Every few minutes he swivels his head, scanning the horizon for the low, steady movement of predators pacing the edge of vision. Heat rising by mid-morning, the sun is a white coin overhead, burning without mercy. The air wavers with heat, distorting the distance. Even the sound changes, sharper, thinner, stripped of the softness that cooler air gives. The zebra's flanks darken with sweat. They breathe faster, sides heaving. Some tilt their heads to catch the wind, opening their mouths slightly to draw in air. Flies cluster around their eyes, driven to frenzy by the heat. The foals tire fastest. Their shorter strides mean more steps to keep up, and each step costs more in this heat. The murs move constantly to shield them from the worst of the sun, adjusting their positions so their shadows fall across the younger bodies. Predators in parallel far to the east. A shimmer resolves into movement. The stallion catches it first. 4 shapes, low and lean, keeping pace at a distance. Not the lionesses this time, but wild dogs, painted wolves, their mottled coats blending with the land's shifting light. They do not rush in. Their hunting style is patient, wearing prey down over long distances. The stallion knows their kind can run for hours without breaking stride. He quickens the herd's pace slightly, not enough to burn out the foals, but enough to make the dogs work for their prize. Mirage and memory. The land ahead ripples with heat mirages, false lakes that vanish as the herd approaches. The younger zebras prick their ears and stretch their necks toward each illusion, hope flickering each time before giving way to disappointment. The older ones do not waste the energy. They know better. Memory weighs heavy here. Every adult has made this crossing before, has felt the thirst bite deeper with each step, has seen those who fell behind. This stretch is not about speed or strength. It is about endurance and the will to keep moving when every muscle screams to stop. The last push to shade. By late afternoon, the heat begins to ease, shadows lengthen, and the air cools. Far ahead, a smear of darker green rises from the horizon, a cluster of thorn trees marking the edge of a shallow valley. The stallion leads them toward it, pace quickening with each kilometer. The wild dogs peel away, vanishing into the grass. They have decided the cost is too high for now. But their absence is not victory, it is a postponement. The herd reaches the trees as the sun dips toward the west. Here, at last, is a break in the monotony, shade to rest in, grass that still holds moisture, and a slope that offers some protection through the night. Rest without safety. They drink from a narrow channel of muddy water that threads between the roots of the largest thorn tree. It is warm, but it soothes their cracked tongues. The foals lie down briefly, legs folding under them, heads dropping to the grass. But even here, there is no complete safety. The stallion positions himself where he can see both the open plain they crossed and the slope leading deeper into the valley. The sun may have set, but the night will bring its own tests. The journey across the dry plains is complete for now. The herd has endured another day, but the Serengeti never stops watching, and tomorrow, the open will call again.